Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Cheerleader Podcast. My name is Jasmine Neely, and I am your host and guide on your journey to becoming a pro dancer, whether it's on a sports team, whether that's the NFL, the NBA, a semi-pro team, an MLB team, an NHL team. I'm here to help you and to give you the best tips and advice that you need to succeed on your journey to making a team or just getting closer to that dream of yours. So, I have a series, and this is episode 3 of the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders making the team on Netflix. And I have been doing episode by episode breakdowns and recaps. And today I'm going to talk about episode 3. So, if you have a question about anything that's in the episode, anything that I talk about today or in previous podcast episodes, doesn't have to be about this series, then please send me a note. I want to answer questions live on my podcast from now on. So feel free to send me a note to theprofessionalcheerleader@gmail.com, or you can send me a DM, a direct message on Instagram or TikTok. On Instagram, I'm at theprofessionalcheerleader, and on TikTok, I am at thepro.cheerleader. Okay, so send me a direct message if you would like me to answer a question for you on the show, and I can answer it anonymously. I don't have to say your name or anything. So yeah, I want to do that for you. Okay, so let's get into the episode. And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the series, I'm going in depth on particular things that I noticed and that I made notes on. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then go watch the series and then come back and watch this episode after. All right. Okay, some things that I noticed. Here we go. So the first thing that I noticed on this episode was that most of the women that try out for this team, they get cut before they even make the team. It seems like it's very rare to try out for this team the first time and then make it. And that's the case for a lot of teams, but I think even on this team, it's making it apparent that, like, okay, you might not make it the first time, but that doesn't mean don't come back. A lot of times when the women do come back, they end up making it the second time. It seems as though that's the pattern that I've seen. So I remember Ariel talking about her not making it the first time. She made it she made it to finals, and I don't think she made it to training camp that year. And I wonder why she didn't say why she got cut. I don't think she went into depth about why she got cut that season. I would have loved to learn more about why that is, because she's a great dancer, and I don't really see them giving her a lot of feedback this year besides flexibility. And I think that's something that she's very aware of, is her flexibility. She makes that clear, and I think it's good that she took action to get a professional personal trainer to get better with her flexibility. And that's kind of like her storyline in the show, is like there's one scene where all the girls' legs are up on a wall, and it's kind of like she's struggling to keep her leg up on the wall because she's slipping. So I think flexibility is something big for her. And she comes from LSU, and they're a huge hip-hop school. They're really great at hip-hop. They are amazing, and I'm sure she was amazing on that team. But I think just in general, I think if you are going to want to make this team, you have to have great flexibility, and especially kicks. Okay, kicks is one thing that they spend a good amount of time in this episode talking about, and they set it up kind of like in this like theatrical way where they have the girls and then it's a black background with lights, and it's really just about the kick. They're talking about how it's straight up and how it's not to the side like you're used to doing a grand battement in ballet, and they spend a ton of time talking about that because it's the most important thing that they're looking for when you become a DCC. That kick line in Thunder is crucial. And it's kind of like being on the Rockettes. Everybody's leg has to be in line. You have to kick as high as you can. And I think one of the staff members was saying that it comes down to power and kicks. So if there's anything that you're going to work on, if you want to be a DCC cheerleader, you better work on that flexibility and those kicks. Somebody even said, work on your kicks ahead of time, like a year ahead of time. And even, I would argue, even more than that. Like, you need to be working on your kicks now if you want to audition for that team next year. Like, you should have been working on it yesterday. Okay? So, yeah, it's really important. And I love how they talked about, because when they talk about these things, the general public is watching this show, and they don't know anything about the foundation of dance. They don't know anything about the background that a lot of these dancers have, but they talk about having a background in ballet and that it comes from the hip. And it's not just about throwing your leg up there. It comes from the hip. It comes from your hamstring muscle and really stretching that, having a lean, long hamstring muscle that can get your leg up there. So, yeah, they talk about that. And they talk about even your core strength. Your core strength is super important for maintaining the control of your kicks. And so I think them talking more about that, and like, you actually have to have some type of technique to be on this team. You can't just show up and say, oh, I don't have any background, I don't know anything. I mean, you can, right? Like, anybody can. But I think that it's important for the general public to know that they are trained dancers, a lot of them, and they know the importance of that technique of a kick, the way your leg is going to be coming right in front of you instead of going to the side like it does in ballet. It's different. And even for them, it's different because that's not what they've been taught their entire lives. All right. So I get people talking to me every day like, oh, like, just not dancers, people that I may have run into during like my day job that maybe I've worked with in the past that have said like, oh, I'm listening to the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleader, I'm watching that show, and I'm like, I wonder what they think about all the technical elements. Like, a lot of them don't think about that type of stuff because it's not super mainstream. But now this show is like bringing that out. It's bringing out the mainstream aspect of this team, and I think it's an incredible thing to see. So let's get back to the show. So I love that they call the girls the Omni Girls. I don't know. I love that. I wrote that down in a note. Like, I think it's so important to have that community when you're going through this process. And the Omni Girls, they seem like they've been friends forever, and they just are roll dogs to the end. And I think it's nice to have that camaraderie during the process. So I'm glad that they show this part of the process. And they kind of delve deeper into each of those girls. Maddie is the 18-year-old, and she was having a conversation with her mom. And I just remember she had sticky notes on her wall wherever she was staying. And some of the sticky notes, I had to pause because I had to read them. And it said, mental toughness is key. Some of them said, wake up and dance your booty off. And another one said, God got you. And I think having those affirmations is so powerful when you're going through this period of time where people are constantly judging you, constantly telling you what you need to fix, constant criticism from everywhere, not just from the coaches, but from vets, from your team leader or your group leader, from people in the organization that may work there that don't even know you. You're being constantly criticized, and I think having those notes is a reminder to yourself, like, this is something hard that I'm putting myself through, but I'm going to make it out on the other end no matter what happens, right? So I think having positive affirmations is super, super important. I think you got to remind yourself that you are the shit, okay? You are badass. You can do it. And if people have done it before you, you can do it too. Like, your mental toughness is just as important as your physical. And she's also talking about, in this clip, she's talking about your family uplifting you and knowing that you are the best. But at the same time, like, they don't know or understand the whole process. Yes. And I think that's super important because your family will cheer you on through the entire process. They're going to root you on no matter what. And I don't think it's said enough how, yes, that is super important, but is it enough? Sometimes I feel like it's not enough because nobody really understands until you're going through that process. You want to have the support of your family. And I think, and if you don't have that support of your family, I'm sorry. And I hope that you get some type of support in the future. But that is super important to have whether or not it's your blood family or family that you've grown to know over the years through anything else in your life, I think that's important to have somebody by your side. But unless they go through the process, they don't really know how much it takes to go into it. And I think having that community of girls that can empathize with you in the process, and they know what it's like, they know the feelings that you're feeling, they know that you may be thinking things that they might be thinking, but nobody's going to say it, but you are thinking the same things, I think is a deep thing to just think about. Okay, so the next thing that I thought about was the tier system that Kelly and Judy have with the women on the team, and how it's based off of how they scored in finals, but also how they scored throughout training camp. And I love how transparent they are. They bring the women in and they sit them down if they're about to cut them or they need to have a conversation with them, and they're like, hey, this is where you stand based off finals and training camp, your number, blah blah blah. And props to them for doing that, because first of all, a lot of teams aren't transparent with that. You don't get feedback a lot sometimes. Some coaches just don't have the capacity to do that, and I think maybe the Dallas Cowboys has more resources for that to happen, more time. Obviously, they have a whole training camp, and yeah, there's going to be enough time to do that, but a lot of teams don't have that. So I think that sets up a model for other teams to follow by. But I don't necessarily know how like the tiered system, how they have kind of like the people at the top and then the people at the bottom. It's very transparent, and I like that. So I think I like it more than I don't, but I still have to think about it. Kind of reminds me of the pyramid of like Dance Moms, if you've ever seen that show. And it's kind of just like putting the best person on the top and quote unquote not as the worst person at the bottom. Yeah, if you're a team, then you're all in it together. People have different strengths. Like there might be somebody that's really good at kicks at the top, but then somebody else that might be really good at splits or something like that. Like the way that the ranking is just kind of like mentally, it's a lot mentally sometimes, especially if you're at their bottom. You're kind of like, wow, I thought I've been doing great this whole time, and now I'm at the bottom of all these amazing dancers. I have to imagine that can mess with your mental at times. So yeah. Another thing that I noticed when they were trying to narrow down the girls was the way they were critiquing some of the women. So, one thing I thought about was great expressions and how expressions can take you far. Abby, they say that she has trouble picking up choreography quickly, but she has great expressions and she can express through her face the dances, and so that can kind of outweigh, you know, her ability to pick up choreography quickly. Because we all know the more that you do classes, the more that you learn, the better you will be at picking up choreography quickly. Especially a style that's similar across the board with DCC and their dances and their style. They said that Paris, which is one of the girls that got cut pretty quickly, they said that her feet, she needs to work on her feet, which I don't know how I feel about that, because you can't really tell a lot of girls' feet in general, because they either have on tennis shoes or boots. So everybody's feet, yeah, you can point your foot in boots. It's definitely about what's the arch and the ankle, and in tennis shoes as well. But I don't know. I kind of feel like that was a cop-out just to give her a reason to let her go. I don't know how I feel about that, because everybody's feet's going to look the same in boots and tennis shoes. Maybe not. Maybe they saw something I didn't see, but anyway. It kind of goes back to just black girls in general and their feet. I grew up in a dance studio that was predominantly black, and constantly when we would go to competitions, the judges would always say they need to work on their feet, they need to work on their feet, they need to work on their feet. And so we started point. And that's when we started point. We had to make sure our feet had a better comment. We had to make sure that we could score higher with better feet. Technique in our feet, like better points. And I don't know if it's something that's in the black community where we have flat feet. I have flat feet, so I am the girl that needs to work on my feet. Like I was trying as hard as I could In dance class growing up, working on my feet and making sure my point can get to where it needs to be, and I can only do but so much. So I think it's just interesting, and I think that's something that they can tell a story about, is maybe like a mini sidebar or tangent about black girls and feet, because I think it's not just coming from this team. In my experience, I think it's across the board that can be a topic of conversation, and why that's so. And maybe there's no correlation at all. I might be making it up, but I can totally relate to Paris and that comment, because I've heard it so many times just growing up and going to dance competitions myself. Savannah, they said that she looks tiny on the field, but there's nothing that she can do about that either. Like, maybe she can make her moves a little bit bigger, yeah, but I think Savannah was kind of one of those short girls. She was just short. And there's nothing that you can do about that. I think it's kind of unfair to her because she's short. Like, there's nothing you can really do about that. And it's so funny because Savannah and Jenna looked alike, and I think they called in Jenna, but they meant to call in Savannah. So I thought that was kind of funny that they did that. But they do actually look alike. I hope they don't take that the wrong way, because they're both beautiful and they do look similar. But I bet Jenna was kind of like, oh my goodness, what are they going to say? She looked really nervous. So, yeah. Make sure the staff gets that right, because I'm sure that's happened multiple times. Oh, yeah. Hello, Steve Harvey and Miss Indonesia and Miss Brazil or something like that. That happened. So, yeah. You got to be extra careful and making sure you choose the right people, because this is not life or death, but it's really big and important to these girls. So do they take all the vets back in training camp? Like, is that a thing? Do they not cut vets in training camp? Because it seems like, and maybe they have on the CMT show that I haven't really watched as much, but it seems like they tend to keep all the vets in training camp. Unless like something huge happens. I think I remember seeing a clip of a show where they did cut a vet because of something, like maybe she was always late or something. But yeah, it seems like they typically keep all the girls back for training camp that are vets. In this episode, I think it was said twice maybe that, oh, she looks pretty tonight. She looks prettier this year. And I always thought that was interesting about like your look, and it got me to thinking about like, can pretty get you pretty far? Yes, I think so. There was a girl on my team who I remember when I was working at the auditions desk for prelims. I'd already been on the team, so I was a vet, so we were working the prelims day, and I remember she walked in the door, she was just like so pretty, so gorgeous. And honestly, I think that is partly what, she's of course a great dancer, but I think her aura is what put her on the team, because she's just drop dead gorgeous. And I think pretty can get you far. So girls, stay in that makeup room, get your makeup done, learn how to do your own makeup, because pretty can get you far. Have you ever heard of pretty fit privilege? Yeah, it's not just in dating, it's in the world as well. A lot of women that are pretty or are deemed by society to be pretty tend to be also successful. So it's important that you take care of yourself. It's important that you present yourself in a way that is going to set you up for success. And when you look good, guess what? You do good, right? So it's not just about pleasing other people that are looking at you. It's about you feeling good within your own body, putting your best foot forward, so that you can get the things that you want in life, and you can help serve others. Basically, that's what it comes down to. So on the flip side, Claire Marie, she was the Miss Missouri, and Kelly was kind of saying that, oh, she looks even older than she is, even though she's 24. They just don't like older girls. I'm just gonna say it. They don't like the older girls. They don't like the seasoned girls. Even though like I keep calling Claire Marie, she's younger, but Kelly was saying that she looks older, and that was like a bad thing. I think that's actually, what are the words? I don't know. I don't want to say terrible, but I think that's just perpetuating a stereotype that older women can't be like they lose their, I don't know, their youthfulness, or the way that they lose being pretty, they lose being deemed as beautiful if they're not young. And I think that, yeah, I think this team definitely skews younger. I do think that part of the reason why I didn't make this team is because I was older. And in the audition tape, you have to state your age. So, and maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe it's because they want women who are able to, that are still nimble and they can still move like they are coming straight out of college or straight out of high school. Who knows? But they do not, in my opinion, like older women over the age of, like, if you're trying out for the first time and you're maybe over the age of 28, then they likely, I don't think that that's, especially not 30. Like, I definitely couldn't try out for that team now. So, yeah. And also in this scene, Kelly was talking about what they're looking for, and the word she used was power, projection, precision, and strength. And all of those things have to come together for you to be deemed as like a higher scored woman for during this training camp. And then we get to talking about Dayton. And in my opinion, personally, I do not think that they should have put Dayton through to training camp. I don't think that they really saw her being on the team to begin with. And I think they could have listened to her mom and who said, you know, if you don't see Dayton being on the team, don't bring her to training camp. I do think that Dayton wants it, but like I said in my previous episode, how bad does she want it? Does she want it because she wants to prove her mom that she can do it, or does she want it because she actually wants this dream? And one thing I will point out is that as somebody who struggles sometimes with learning difficult choreography, it always helps to put yourself out in the front, and you can learn quicker because you have nothing else to look at but you and the choreographer. And I think like Abby and Dayton, they were deemed as some of the girls that didn't learn choreography as quickly. So I think if that's you, like me, I think putting yourself in the front, putting yourself out there so that you're seen and that you're focused, nothing else is distracting you. If you're sitting in the back, you see everything. You see the girl, you might see the girls talking, you might see the girl do a different move that's not the right move or a different count. And that is distracting. So if you can get in the front, I highly suggest that you do that if you want to learn quickly. Okay, so now back to Dayton. Yeah, I think them being loyal to Dayton's mom, I get that's a tough position to be in, but I think ultimately they made the best decision of letting her go, because it didn't seem like they were putting, and I think it's good to do this, they were putting her actual skills and ability and her thoughts from the vets, because the vets came in and gave their opinions. The vets were just validating what they had thought already about Dayton. And I think they needed that to justify cutting her at training camp. And so at the end of the day, it was about what's best for the team, what's best for Dayton, quite frankly, and what's just skill over loyalty and being a friend of somebody, right? At the end of the day, that's their job, and you have to separate your job from your friendship. Okay. So, yeah, I know it sucks, but at the end of the day gonna end. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I had to say about Dayton. I mean, she's a really pretty girl, and she has like a unique look, and I think nobody on the team looks like her, which I think if she came back next year, she could be even stronger and get her mind right, get her training in a good spot. I think she could really kill it next year and make the team if she wanted to. But I think she has to really do some deep introspective work and find out if this is a team that she really wants to be in and why. Like, what is her why? Because it just can't be for her mom. It just can't be, in my opinion. Okay. What else? I think in that section they were talking about Claire Marie as well, and like they had no business cutting her. I think even when they cut her, they said we cut a good one. Like they had nothing but nice things to say about her. I just think they were trying to give her an excuse to cut her. And they said that she's a softer dancer and admitted that she was a good dancer and that they could see her on this team as an ambassador because she has that background experience. Also in this episode, we get into their makeovers, the rookies' makeovers. And I thought it was so cool how they're able to actually have somebody to do a black woman's hair. And I'm surprised that they haven't done that earlier. Like, they mentioned that it was 2020 before they had somebody that specialized in textured hair, meaning like kinky curly hair from somebody that's mixed or who is black or has a different type of textured hair. I wish that they would have educated the audience a little bit more on textured hair and everything that has to go into it. And I think Armani actually mentioned that in the black community, hair is such a big statement. And I wish that they would have gone a little bit deeper into that, into that story. But it would have been cool to educate the audience, just like we've educated the audience on ballet terms and kicks about differences in hair. So like the differences between a wig and a weave and a sew-in and a frontal and a U-part and all those things that people don't really understand about a black woman's hair, and how they can't just straighten it for a game. They can, but if you're on a football field and you're dancing away, your hair is going to curl up and it's going to look way different than it did when you first started that game, right? So I think that a lot of people don't realize that, and a lot of people don't understand why black women wear a lot of wigs and weaves. It's because that our hair can grow underneath it, and we don't have to worry about straightening and it frizzing up and all of that jazz. So I think it's important to know that black women's hair is long. Like it's just crinkled up, and the way that you make it long is you pull it out and you straighten it, and it's just like anybody else's hair. But having somebody come in and specialize in textured hair is huge, and I think it should have been talked about a little bit more. Now Armani sharing her alopecia journey. Ugh. First off, I'm so glad that she had the courage to do that amongst millions of people, and it shows how imperfect, quite frankly, that the cheerleaders are. She's such an amazing dancer, and just because she doesn't have any hair on her head doesn't take away from the fact that, she's an amazing performer, and she is where she got because of her dance ability. I love that she wanted to dance with her natural hair and that she wanted to do that. I would have never guessed that she had alopecia until I saw last year that she danced without her wig. But I think especially for her, having somebody come in and specialize in textured hair and wigs and weaves, that was like just a game changer for her and the entire team, because even Ariel is benefiting off of that. I think a lot of things that happened in 2020 were politicized after all of the George Floyd protests and all of that, but I think a lot of good things came out of it, and I think this is one of them. So yeah, props to Armani, and props to her sharing her story, because I'm sure there's a little girl out there that may be going through the same thing, or even an adult woman that may be insecure about something but is getting the courage to do something that she wants to do or try out for this team or another team, regardless of what they have going on in their personal life and what insecurities or things that they might be dealing with inside. Now back to dating. First of all, I think them getting the group leaders' opinions was a smart idea. I think it shows their growth as leaders of the team, even though that, the group leaders, they're auditioning for the same team, but they're kind of like second command to the coaches. So I think that was a smart idea, and I like that they brought in their opinions. But can the staff handle Dayton leaving? I would love to see how that turned out with her mom and Kelly and Judy's relationship. I don't know. It depends. It'll depend on Shelly, but I don't think that it should. It shouldn't. It shouldn't depend on Shelly. It shouldn't depend on the mom. I think that they need to. Kelly and Judy should have a conversation with her mom if they haven't already. Because even the thing that she said last time that they got cut is that she didn't know. Like, there was no conversation had. Which, to be fair, there's no conversation had with other women on the team. But, like, if that's your friend, then yeah, I think they could have handled that differently. So I hope that they did this time. But I would have loved to see how that turned out after she got cut. Like, is it really about loyalty at the end of the day? Or is it about talent for the legacy girls? It's so... I would not want to be put in that position as a woman whose mom was a DCC and then I'm going to try out. The pressure that comes with is just insurmountable, and I don't think that I could handle it. I would rather have the talent and try to win over the judges, the coaches with my own talent and my personality than be a legacy and try to have to like prove myself that way and have the pressures of my mom and the pressures of the organization because of who my mom is to make the team. That just comes with a whole different type of pressure. So Dayton, we're rooting for you, girl. Rooting for you. And I hope that you've found peace. I hope that if you do make the team this year, that it's something that you want to do. And I don't know you, but I am wishing you all the best and all of the great success in your dance career. So that's it for this episode of the Imperfect Cheerleader Podcast. And I will be back next week to give you a rundown of episode number 4. We're almost there to episode 7. I think episode 7 is the last episode. So stay tuned and bye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Imperfect Cheerleader Podcast. Taking the time to listen while you're busy with all of life's responsibilities means the world to me. If you enjoyed this episode, here are a few ways you can support ICP. Number 1, hit the subscribe button so you always get newly released episodes and never miss them. Number 2, take a screenshot of the episode you listened to and tag @theprofessionalcheerleader on Instagram. We love to repost your tags and shout you out in our stories. Number 3, write a review. This is the best way to show your support for the podcast and helps us bring on even better guests, interviews, and topics. I hope you have a wonderful day, morning, or night, wherever you may be, and are continuing to work towards your goals of becoming a professional cheerleader, dancer, or just someone who loves to move. I'll see you later on another episode of the Imperfect Cheerleader Podcast. Toodles for now.